Are we on? Are we on? Welcome, welcome, welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And oh boy, we have a very special guest. This basketball head is a John F. Kennedy High School great, who in his senior year was an honorable mention All-City player. After high school, he attended Emmanuel Jr. College in Franklin Springs, Georgia, where he earned All-Region, All-Conference honors and was JUCO All-American. This basketball head transferred to Virginia Commonwealth. Well, I say Virginia Commonwealth. That is Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, on a full basketball scholarship after being heavily recruited. In his senior year, he was selected to the Sunbelt All Conference Team, the Division I All Virginia team, and college basketball weekly All-Region honorable mention. Now, if you've been following me, you'll see that there's been a pattern with this basketball head because he popped off at every school in his senior year. Not too many people could do that in a short period of time because what he did next was unprecedented. In addition, this basketball head earned ESPN Owens Corning's Amateur Athlete Award, the CBA Chevrolet Player of the Game, as seen on CBS. He did that a couple of times. And he was also the Eastern Airlines Player of the Game several times on the sports channel. He's won numerous honors and awards and been selected to all-star teams because after college, this basketball head was drafted to the Phoenix Suns in 1983. Damn, that was my freshman year in high school. Pay attention. In 1984, this basketball head was selected as a member of the All-Star Interworld Team Tour in Southeast Asia. At the time, the team consisted of future Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Famers, top 50 greatest players, and now top 75 former NBA All-Star greats, such as Earl Monroe, Pete Maravich, Rick Barry, Bob Dandridge, Cazzie Russell, Connie Hawkins, Mel Davis, Dennis Autry, and Phil Jackson. Damn. This is definitely legendary status right here. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show, John F. Kennedy and Memorial Emmanuel Jr. College, Virginia Commonwealth University great. There's people blowing up my phone right now. We are live, people. Help me welcome to the show, Fred Disco Brown.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. 30-30. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Blessed and highly favored. Appreciate you coming on the show, my brother.
I appreciate you having me, man.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, I don't understand why people blow you up when they see you live and then they want to call you. I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram at the same time, so they know what's going on. Listen, people, don't call me. Come over to the show, watch the show, and I'll holler at you afterwards. All right? No doubt. Hey, listen, you got Ronald McCants in the building. What up, Ronald? Said Fred was nice. He went to Kennedy with my man, Keith Dixon.
yeah, Keith.
Chris Middleton is in the building. So that's my big bro, one of my inspirations. They're already tapping in, man. They're already tapping in. So I want to jump right into this, man. I always ask everybody this question when they come on the show. Who introduced you to the game?
I kind of introduced myself to it from in my neighborhood. You know, I might have been probably around 6, 7 years old. You know, I grew up initially Claremont House in the Bronx, Washington Avenue. That's Claremont Center. So I kind of saw Arnold Duggar, who was the person at the time who everybody was kind of talking about and clamoring to. So just, you know, being in school, going to the park, just started, you know, playing like that.
What was life like growing up in the 70s in the boogie down Bronx, man? You know, because New York was a different New York then. So explain to the people how life was a little bit different than it is today.
Well, I mean, Washington Avenue, Claremont, anybody that know the Bronx and know Claremont projects, it was a serious area, man. So, you know, in 74, we moved. I moved to River Park Towers, which was a new development, you know, high rises, a swimming pool and big gym and all of that. So, you know, it was a different type of life. So on Washington Avenue, I ain't never know what to expect when I came out the door. But when I got over to River Park, now it was a calmer life. It was a different type of life. And so over there with the state park being new, that's when they had the Pro-Am. And that's when I started seeing guys, you know, really playing organizing at a certain level. And it got me more and more, you know, just interested. And then one of the neighborhood coaches just like grabbed me up and asked me, was I playing somewhere? And then he created a team for River Park Towers. And that's how it all started.
Man, that's dope, man. Ronald McCants said, word, Arnold Duggar. Very tough.
Yeah.
Bruce, my God, Bruce is in the building. He said Fred was the flyest player, student wearing alligator shoes in high school with a perfect, never out of place afro. Ooh, man. Always wish I could grow an afro, man. You see that ain't work out too well, right?
Yeah. I have no big afro, man. I just had a little shape up thing, man. You know, to try to stay up with the times.
Man, first of all, you fly right now, bro. I see you in your pictures. I see you, you know, at the Rucker a couple of years ago. Man, you still keep it together, brother. So you still an inspiration, man.
Thank you.
No doubt, no doubt. What other things you was into? Like, what other sports? Like, what was going on in the Bronx? Because I know down here in Brooklyn, we played all 3 sports, right? We played football, baseball, and basketball.
Well, I mean, I played basketball. I wasn't into no other sports. Like, I would watch football on TV, but it was more for me just about basketball. And then with me, I spent a lot of time in Harlem. I probably spent more time in Harlem than I did in the Bronx. You know, so I moved around. I had at a young age, had some strong relationships and associations with some fellas that was kind of well known throughout the city and other places in the just in the country, and that kind of uplifted me. You know, it was here I was at that time 14, 15-year-old kid, and you're talking about guys who everybody talking about that supposedly in power in the streets. They had befriended me and took me under their wing, and not from me doing what they was doing enough, and just from a friendship type big brother type thing. You know, as time went on, you know, and then as time goes on, you know, we all make decisions and do things, but that's how it started.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was a kid coming from a game, I got stopped by the original 50 Cent. And, you know, I thought they was going to rob me. I have no money on me. I was broke, man. I had the big, remember the iced teas that used to come in the container?
Yeah.
Right? We used to have So I'm walking with that. I'm like, man, what they gonna take? So I was just scared because I was like, the only thing can take is my basketball. They don't play. But he gave me so much inspiration because I didn't know he was watching the game, and he told me how good I was. And he told, yo, Slim, stick with that ball, man, and don't be out here, cutting up, man. And I always appreciate that. And I tell that story all the time because something bad could have happened, or he could have tried to reel me in.
Yeah. I mean, all types of things can happen. When I was young, probably early on, there was a gentleman named Jerome Harris, another one named Freddie Myers, and Eric Von Zip, another guy, Jack. So I kind of met all these guys at a young age. So, and then, like I said, they took me in and watched over me, mentored me, and and as well, man, I had two parents in my household. My father was a strong guy, man. He was a community guy that became a politician and became strong in his own right. So that kind of exposure, that kind of love and support gave me a different type of confidence, so that when I did come around other guys that I might have been impressed by, I was still able to be myself and kind of follow my own mind and make my own decisions and choices.
This a little side note here, right? One day, I think I'm coming back from a trip. I think I took a trip out of town, and I bought like the Feds magazine, and I'm reading an article on Freddie Myers. Never met the man, never heard of the man. I'm just reading the article, and I'm just like, damn, his life is man interesting. So I'm reading through it, and he talked about this dude from Brooklyn, Frank Matthews.
Right.
And he said, one day Frank gave him a bag of money to hold, and I think it was like $80,000. And I'm reading it, and he said he never touched it for 6 months. I was so impressed by that, because who's not going to touch $80,000 for 6 months, especially if somebody's not looking for it?
Yeah, but that bag, it wasn't 80,000. You had to put some zeros, man. It was a lot more than that. He told me that story.
Yeah, because I'm glad somebody can make it straight. That's what we call a positive tech right now. Again, I'm an avid reader of all things, and I'm a historian, right? So that story, what did he tell you? And I can finish the rest.
Well, the story he told me was he was taking a trip to Vegas, and he was on the plane, and he was sitting down, and he said he kept, feeling him, look at him, and he's looking at him, and said that Frank asked him, because he had a bracelet on. Freddie had a bracelet on that had FM. And that was for Freddie Myers and diamonds and everything. So Frank Matthews got the same initials. So he said that Frank asked him, could he buy that from him? And he said, man, you can't buy my jewelry, man, like that. So he said they struck up a conversation. And when they landed, they wasn't like, they didn't have to walk through the airport. Like they landed, they came off the plane outside. And he said Frank had the big limo sitting there waiting for him. And he invited him in. He said Frank took him back to, I believe he said the Sands. Said Frank had Frank Sinatra suite. Said he gave him Sammy Davis suite. And he said they just had a ball of a time, and that was the beginning of their relationship.
And as the story continues, I'm reading down, he's like, man, when I finally met up with him, gave him the bag back, I rode with him to Brooklyn, and we went to this brownstone, and he said, man, he couldn't get this door open. And, my brother owns a brownstone, so I know about them 18-foot doors. He was like, he asked him to push the door open, and what was in that room astonished him so much that when he had to go sit up and do some time, he said he used to have nightmares about that room.
Yeah, money stacked from the floor to the ceiling.
Bro, man. So that was my introduction to both Freddie Myers and Frank Matthews at the same time. And so when I got home, I went on YouTube and I just started typing up Freddie Myers and Frank Matthews stories and reading online again, because I'm a historian, and I just you never part of that life, had family members part of that life, but I just love the whole story about it of men being stand-up men and not flip on each other, man. I just thought that was dope.
Yeah. He always
No
so the
doubt.
day passed, God bless him too. He remained,
Yes.
one of my close people.
Nah. Heard a lot of positive things about him, man. From everyone. Said, who's this? Broly Chisholm says, a New York City basketball legend, a trendsetter, ahead of his time, a Renaissance man of honor and distinction, a true living legend, revered and respected by all. Man, so much love, brother. So much love. Appreciate you. Who else is in here? Oh, this is my guy Middleton. Chris Middleton. Fred was our superhero. He showed a lot of us how to do it. True story. Man, this is awesome, man. So, besides was Arnold, right? Arnold Drugs?
Arnold Duggar.
He was the guy everyone was trying to be like on the ball tip.
That when I was coming up. Now, it was crazy because that's who I was exposed to. But as time went on, I started learning about, other people. And then even when I got a little older, I'm always a guy who I know the wheel wasn't invented in my era. And the wheel wasn't invented in the era before me. So, but there are people before you. So, some of my real close friends, and I started finding out about this one and that one. When I go back to my man Dudley Biggs, George Biggs, Kite, Joe Holman, who passed away, God bless him.
Yes.
Derek Claiborne, Keith Lewis, another one, God bless him. It's just so many dudes, man, so many guys, man. When you start talking about the Ricky Sobers, the Ron B. Hagans, and then you start moving forward, Frank Street, not forward, but Frank Streety. Then you got Frankie Edwards coming forward. Then you got Mike Edwards. Then you got Artie Green, Cornbread, Phil Walker, Norman Scullock, man, Angel Cruz, Machito, Charlie Rock, Butch Simon, Butch Worm, a.k.a. Clarence Jones, App Jack, Alan Lorick. It go Ted Campbell. Then you get then you're getting more toward my era as well. And then I start talking about, there's so many guys, man. I say Kevin Williams, Steve Burt, Mike Daniels, Glenn McMillan, Mike Moses, Rory Grimes, Gary Springer, Ed Pickney, Walter Berry, Richie Adams. Then you go Kenny Patterson, Kenny Hutchinson, Pearl, Tony Campbell, Nigel Wallace, Hansel, Workhorse, Pookie Wilson, Ron Mathias, Imp, Didi Powell, Pete Aguilar. It just goes, man.
You're naming some of the greatest players in New York City history. Ron McCann says, can't forget Moto, Carlton Green.
Carlton Green. Yeah.
Another one who I had on the show.
Leroy Shaw. It's just that I'm thinking these names rolling off my head, so they gotta forgive me when
You rolled off enough. You rolled off enough to let people know the caliber players that they probably never heard of, right?
I can't forget Billy Goodwin, Dan Barnett. How could I forget them? Because that was my rivals, and the other Fred Brown Wiki at Stevenson, Kenny Satterfield Sr., Dave Crosby. It's just a slew of a bunch of guys. Oh, Dwayne Johnson. I'm gonna forget Dwayne. People might not remember Terry Bomar that went to Talentine, Ernie Myers, even though some of them are a little behind me. But whenever you within that 2-3 years before and 5-6 years after, that's the same era.
Yeah.
If you play at the next level, you're gonna play against each other's pros.
Facts.
So all those guys, man. I'm leaving off so many guys because I'm sitting here now and it'll start coming back to me, as I go. But I remember I saw Stu on your show. Stu was behind me, little Stu. I know Stu can tell you some stories, though, So all them guys, man. I remember he brought up Intersection. I remember Intersection, the Cavaliers with Stan Brown, the Sonics with Adams, Resurrection, the Pacers, which was my team with Joe Holly, and he had a lot of us. Stanley Lamb was another guy who was older, but I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Man, said
Troy Truesdale,
yeah.
John Morton, you know, my man Joy. I mean, it's just
Kurt Middleton said, "What's up?" He said, "Fred Downtown Brown was still that guy, Big Kurt."
Oh yeah, Kurt. How could I forget him too? He was behind Curtis Middleton. You know, he played overseas for a while. You know, Chris was a hell of a player. You know, Chris had some skill set. You know, it's oh man, just forgive me for those who's not. I'm not thinking off the top of my head.
Nah, don't worry about it. Because at the end of the show,
Ronnie Williams that played at
Florida. Yeah.
Then you got Tony Red Bruin, Sid Green. Man, you know, it's just New York had a lot. That's what I tried to tell people. I said, listen, y'all always talk about how the Parks was in 2000 and the 90s, late 70s to the middle 80s. Y'all ain't have nothing on them games, man. There wasn't no baselines. People was hanging off the bridges.
Say it again.
Every game.
Say it again.
No baselines. And people like to jump over some things, because I like to tell people, most guys, they didn't see Pee Wee and Joe Hammond, and both of them is my guys. And Julius Erving, they didn't see them play because it was too early. When they came out there, if you 50 years old, 52, you didn't see them guys play. You had to see guys like Kevin Williams, myself, Gary Springer, Steve Burke, Kevin Williams, Pookie Wilson, Turn, and then later on you talking Master Rob, and that's who you had to see. So my man Mike Red, God bless his soul, he passed. My man Roy, Javon McDaniel. So when they were seeing us out there, they were seeing them Benjis and Beamers, Triple Park and all that. That was us. That wasn't nobody else. So when everybody started talking about this and that, it ain't true, man. I'm telling you, who was out there. We was going to Mount Vernon, 20 cars deep, double R's and all of that. So it was a whole nother time from we talking 78, 79 to about 85, 86, just different time.
Like I tell y'all cats from all around the country, no matter where you from, you ain't doing it like New York City, baby. We still a Mecca, and we gonna always have that. Facts. Anthony Rainey, what up, Ant? He said, I was on when you had Cornbread and all those cats he was talking about. I've seen and knew them coming from Forest Projects, 23 Park. Talking some sense, man. Let's jump into high school, right? Like, how was your transition going into Kennedy? And why didn't you go to Clinton and Truman or any other school? Like, what made, Kennedy, a place you call home?
Well, for me, initially coming out of 8th grade, I was thinking about going to Lehman because one of my best friends that I grew up with, his name was Tony Jones, come off Washington Avenue as well. So he was going to Lehman. I was going to go to Lehman. And my mother was like, listen, I'm going to break y'all up, man. You ain't going to no Lehman. So based on where we live, you had to go to a school in your zone. But Kennedy wasn't in my zone either. I ended up using my aunt's address. But Kennedy was a new school. It was about in the second year, maybe going to the third year.
Wow.
It was one of the top public schools in the city at that time. So it worked. I mean, the school had elevators, escalators in it and everything else. So a lot of people came through. Dave Britton. Dave, forgive me. How am I gonna forget Dave? Dave Britton, Wendell Ramsey, Carmelo, my man Joe McBride, Charlie Cobb, Ed Watts, Booby, Monk, Paul Woods. Okay, I mean, it was a lot of guys, man. But anyway, I went to Kennedy based on that. You know, it was a new school, and it was forming a good school. So that's how I ended up there.
First of all, you threw me off because I'm like, is he making a mistake? Escalators in the high school?
Oh no, we had escalators, elevators, and all of that. That's why our school was so special back then. Everybody was talking about it. So everybody from when you're talking Harlem and the Bronx, they used to want to come by Kennedy High School. We had a bunch of, all the girls and everybody and all the different guys. A lot of guys was popular. So it was a school that people knew about and people was making it their business to come through there.
No doubt. Wow. This is crazy. So let's just jump to your senior year, right? Because did you join the team in your senior year? What was that progress like? That process like, you getting on the team and then you finding your space?
But what happened, I went out, tried out for the team from the ninth grade on. Ninth grade, he cut me, and it was crazy because another guy, Charlie Carver, Ed Watts, we all came in ninth grade together. And Charlie I knew previously. So we in there, and I'm getting off. So, but he cuts me. Last cut, he cuts me. Sophomore year, the same thing. So I'm like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm sitting in his office like, what's happening, man? So he just, Freddie. That's how I used to, you're not ready yet, Freddie, like that. So then the 11th year, he puts me on JV. So now that's the total insult. So, but I'm so determined that I did it. And then, another one got to forgive me, Alex Hooper. I don't know how I could forget Alex, the rubber band man. Played in a lot of games, a lot of places. I think he's in Winston-Salem's Hall of Fame, retired number. Real good dude, too. He was there at Kennedy with me. And so he just didn't, his style of play, wasn't a lover, I guess, of my style. So my senior year, he couldn't stop it. So he went on and I think Ed Watts got hurt, but I led the team in scoring, was the person. And so I was supposed to go to Oregon State from there. And I don't know if you know Julius Allen.
Julius, he been on the show. I know, Coach.
Okay. Yeah. And I left him off. I'm sorry to him. But Julius Allen, he was getting it in. He was giving people the business. And he was at Oregon State. So him being a New Yorker, they was using Julius to recruit me. But I'm not listening to certain people. I'm getting bad advice. So long story short, I ended up having to go to junior college. And I didn't want to go to the JUCO that they were sending me to because they didn't go national. So I went out to Emmanuel. And at that time, it was in Region 17. They went to the Nationals. It was a decent school. Reverend Burkett with the Trio Crusaders. That's how I ended up there.
And how was that transition from you coming from New York City going all the way down to Georgia?
Different because it was quiet, but I was kind of fortunate because I traveled. As a kid, I traveled. I'm Detroit, Kansas City, Florida, because I had family and my father and my mother, we would travel. Or they would send me to my aunts, my cousins. So the difference was just now I'm there full time. There ain't no going back home. I'm there. My first year was in a dorm. So you got to get acclimated, just to different life. It's slower. I ain't gonna call them country, but just a different life. It's a quieter life, a slower life. And at the time for me, I was really, I was trying to get right. So, I had a bad knee in high school. I had hurt my leg, and they sent me to the Atlanta Hawks doctor when I got to junior college to find out I had an underdeveloped muscle. I got that right, and then that was it. That was it. So I went back and forth the first year. Then my sophomore year, they left me alone, let me go. And then Tubby Smith, I don't know if Coach Kentucky, and he was at VCU. I was his first or his second recruit.
Wow. In
his career. And Tubby, to this day, we still talk, communicate. He's a really good guy, a really, really good guy. But the VCU, I owe to him.
Wow. During those days, if you didn't conform to the style, like we all have to conform, but back then it was a lot stricter, right? They didn't like anything that was out of the norm that they weren't used to.
Right.
Right? So to make a difference how good you were, because I remember my coach cutting some guys who I thought was way better than me. And you went through that over and over and over. A lot of times dudes give up. Why didn't you give up?
You know what? A lot of times back, like when I'm home in the summer and I'm playing, and all the guys I'm playing with, they in Division I schools and they are performing and they are accomplishing things. And we always playing, we always doing what we're doing. So I didn't feel that I wasn't skilled enough or anything because I knew what I was doing when I was away from there. So it was just a determination, because in my mind I always said I'm gonna be a pro no matter what. So, you know, I just kept banging, because it would be like that first year I come in, there's a lot of hoopla, and then it's taking me in and out of games, you know, sitting me, then starting me, then sitting me, then experimenting and this and that, and then toward the end of that first season, now I'm getting into a flow, getting into my rhythm. So now going into the next year, it's almost like, okay, we're gonna let the kid play. But even though they still had me confined, at least I was on the court playing. So I was never able to really put up a whole bunch of shots. I might have been putting up 14 shots a game. So the numbers is not going to be representative of the ability or the skill level.
Wow. Man, you know, most guys in that situation usually, you know, hang it up, transfer, and go somewhere else. But you stuck it through, man, and I think it paid off.
Yeah, because you look at it, because especially once I got to VCU, now I'm a junior. So if that year is up and down, now if I go to transfer, I got to sit out. If I'm going Division I got to sit out. So I'm like, who knows what's gonna happen? So I was kind of like, if I go somewhere else and go through this, I don't know. So I'm a stick it out. I'm gonna see. You know, I had some times though. I had some days, man, where I was out of there almost, but it worked. You know, it worked, man. It just, I guess the blessing of God, it worked.
Now I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Were there SAT requirements back then?
Yes. Yeah,
it's crazy. I got caught up in that as well. Do you know now they just do the SAT away? Kids don't need SATs anymore.
I mean, right now, kids ain't staying this. Well, if you really a serious pro, you're not staying in school long. You know, you going out after your first year, your second year. During my period of time, which you said that's going hardship. You have very few guys that was able to do that. Like Dominic Wilkins did it after his junior year. Isaiah Thomas did it after his sophomore year, and I think Magic did it. And I don't remember too. You know, there were a couple others in there that I can't remember.
I think Jordan went after his junior year.
Oh yeah, Jordan. Yeah, Jordan.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But most guys stayed the whole 4 years. That's why when they went into the league, their bodies was different. They was grown men. So all that mattered back then. The game is different now. You know, plus you talk about a more physical game back then. So if your body wasn't right, you're going to break down.
Now, would you like to touch on the difference between the game now and how it was back then? Because a lot of people feel that these guys are so much better. And I'm like, how? Because I don't watch the game anymore.
Nah, right now, really, my opinion is the game is more of an international European game, because you got your bigs is shooting threes, you floating. So it's a more open game. It's really, to me, the international game with just guys are stronger now, because your conditioning, your training is different. So I always tell guys in this era, if you want to talk about somebody 3 eras ago, you got to make the playing field level. So that means you give those guys the same conditioning, the same workout habits, and see whether or not they would be what they are. Or you take away y'all conditioning, y'all training now, and put you back in that time as to the training then, and see what. You mean to tell me you think if Jerry West didn't train the way they train today, he wouldn't be a great player? That's crazy. If you wasn't playing in the sneakers, you wasn't doing all the things, that don't even make sense. So sometimes the guys today get lost, not understanding that y'all success and a lot of things that happen are on the backs of the guys who came before you. You know, my era was probably one of the earlier eras of evolution to the game, because that's when the 3-point shot came into play. Remember, they was playing in college. Certain conferences had it, certain conferences didn't.
Yeah.
I think the NBA finally, I don't know if it was what year, I don't remember, but when that came in, they were still experimenting. You know, the weightlifting was still experimenting. They didn't want you lifting a whole lot of weights up top because they thought it would throw your shot off.
Yeah.
So a whole lot of things was different. If you look at the pictures of previous NBA players, they look sleek. If you look at them now, you can see the muscle definition and everything. It's a different game. It's different training. But by no means, if they thinking that a player from back in the day, given the same training, same conditioning, couldn't be who they are. That's not the case. The case is just, can you play? If you had to bring the guys today and put them in the game of playing physical like how we played, would they be able to adapt? Not skill-wise, but heart-wise and mentally. It's a different mindset. You know, you come through the middle and somebody crack you and put you on your back, if you're going to get up and go right back at them, or you're going to shy away from it because you don't want the contact.
And it's so crazy, right? Because I was watching the Gilbert Arenas show, and one of the guys on the show said that if they take the top players from overseas that's in the NBA and have them play against the top players in the NBA, he felt like the top guys in overseas would beat the guys in the NBA. That's in the NBA, not overseas, not in the Olympics. The guys that's right now in the NBA.
But see, that's for me. That's the arrogance of a modern athlete, not respecting those that came before you. A certain time, because given, in my opinion, back in the day, you was playing more for natural ability. Because if you were somebody who really could jump, play, that was natural. You wasn't lifting weights, you wasn't developing your muscles to a certain extent to give you that extra power. So everybody who was doing that in the 70s and 80s, that was natural ability. Everybody's playing over the rim now because you're training that way, you're lifting weights that way. Your body is developed a certain type of way. So, you know, to say Earl Monroe, Pete Maravich, or JoJo White, and them guys, like, they couldn't, given the same thing, they wouldn't be an all-star today. Come on, man.
Listen, I haven't watched the game, and we talking about championship and everything, in about 6-7 years, and I'm being real. I just think right now it's a multi-billion-dollar pickup game.
Yeah, it's wide open. I mean, for me, the game today, I think, would have benefited a lot of the guys back in the 80s and even early 90s.
Definitely, facts.
Because it was a wide open game. You're able to play with some freedom. So not that coaches don't have X's and O's in plan now, but it was different. It was more half court. You're going in and out, you know. So now the big man is not even utilized the way they were when we played. It's different, you know. Big guys are shooting threes. They popping out. So they're not posting up. They're not picking away. They're not doing a lot of those things. Screening off. It's just totally. So your opinion is an international game, in my opinion.
They're making it better for the Europeans. Trust me. They are setting these players up, and they don't realize it. Yeah. So
I mean, I'm happy for them. You know, I'm happy that they're able to make the type of money that they're making now. Because what's happening now is creating generational wealth for guys. So if you really on top of your business, I mean, your family tree should be straight for eternity. Because when guys is walking away with $500 million after playing 14, 15 years, it's a lot of paper.
Yeah, definitely don't want to take away that, man. So Disco Freddie Brown, the tap dance kid, had the crowd of King Tower screaming, slow motion for me, way before Juvenile. Salute. Who's this? Randy J. The game was played from the inside out back in the days. The game is played from the outside or perimeter. It's wide open. No defense, all jump shots. That's a big fact. Says, P. Dominium, I went to VCU because of disco, ice water. Haha. That's dope. So let's go down, right? Because we talked about now you at VCU in the Commonwealth State, Virginia, and now you're trying to figure out the next level, right? Because, you know, Tubby Smith, one of the greatest coaches in NCAA history, now is, you know, you're under the tutelage of him. What kind of freedom did he give you during your senior year to let you be the player that you need to be?
Well, it wasn't even Tubby, because Tubby was an assistant coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, J.D. Barnett was the head coach. Then you had Jim Smith, who had come from Maryland Eastern Shore, I believe, Dave Hobbs, and there was a couple others in Tubby. So Tubby wasn't he wasn't in position.
Got you.
He was a good guy. All the players liked Tubby, respected Tubby, and Tubby was a young man. Then he was no more than about 5-6 years out of college, if I remember correctly. So it was, you know, when I got there, it was a lot of hoopla. You know, I mean, today they still say that was the best recruiting class, you know, school ever had in its history.
Wow.
We had a kid named Calvin Duncan that came from Oak Hill Academy. He was an All-American with Steve Silver, who was a Brooklyn guy who passed away. He was an All-American. Yeah. And then Randy Corker, another JUCO All-American out of Trenton, played just like Mark Aguirre. Similar game, similar build. Rolando Lamb, who was out of Virginia, his son, I forgot his son played at Connecticut. I forget his son's name. He's still in the league now.
Deron Lamb.
Is it Deron? I thought it started with a C, but you might be right. But I know his son played in the league. But
I need to Karan Lamb. Is it Karan Lamb?
No, it's not Karan either. If I hear the name, I'm gonna know it. He came out of Connecticut, if I remember right.
Keep going. Yeah, I got you.
Had another kid, Mike Slagle, 6'10" guy out of
Jeremy Lamb, right? Right. Jeremy Lamb.
Right.
Yes.
That's Rose's son.
Okay.
So, but anyway, that was a strong recruiting class. So we were kind of battling amongst ourselves. So he had one time Calvin, Randy Cork, and myself battling for the same spot. And the three of us was probably, when you say count on your hand, the top 5, we was in there, you know, talent-wise. And so the beginning of the year, I think I was starting. Then after 3-4 games, Randy starting. Then after that, 3-4 games, Calvin starting. Like, he was bouncing us around. The difference is Calvin was a freshman. I was a junior. You know, Randy was a sophomore. So I didn't have the time that they had. So that junior year, up and down until probably the last 9-10 games of the season is when it changed again for me. And then going into my senior year, still he was just kind of at me, never wanted to really let me go. And I just played through it. I just did what I felt I needed to do, played out of position, did whatever it is I could to stay on the floor and to try to be productive on the court. And again, just, you know, back then, Sports Channel was bigger than ESPN.
Facts.
So we had a lot of games on Sports Channel as well. And Jim Thacker was a big commentator back then. And he took a liking to me. He always, you know, kind of gave me little tips and advice and stuff. Just a lot of the guys, like, it was so crazy because the way the coach pitted Calvin and Randy and the others, you would think we'd be at each other's throats, but we all got along. And that never broke our morale with each other. And if he would have let us go, we would have been a lot stronger based on the talent that we had. Even though my senior year we lost to Georgia. Matter of fact, they upset us. We were slated to win. We was the favorite. They beat us by 2 to go to the Sweet 16. So when they ended up in the Final Four, you know, Vern, James Banks, Terry Fair, and those guys, you know. And then the previous years we lost to Tennessee to go to the Sweet 16. I mean, 4 out of 6 years that happened.
Wow.
But we was always right there. You know, we was always, you know, considered a mid-major who had some talent, who at any time, you know, they would rank us 22nd, 23rd, you know, never allow us to break the top 20 till my senior year at the end of the year. And then after I'm gone, now they, first time in history, school is ranked 11th in the nation before they step on the court.
Facts.
You know, because all the guys came back but me.
Wow.
So, you know, it was, I mean, my senior year, I think we had the third longest win streak in the nation. I forgot who had the first. And then Houston with 5 slam and jammer, Clyde Drexler, Keem, and them, they had the second longest streak. And then going into the NCAAs, we got upset by Alabama Birmingham. And then we still got an at-large bid and everything. So we beat LaSalle, and then we lost to Georgia.
No doubt, no doubt. Dorian Graham, what up, my guy? Friend of the show. He said, my big bro, Disco, Fred Brown. I saw him dunk on TNT. God bless. So hard in the EBC. Wow. Robert Cairns, rest in peace. to Evie. She coached a lot of street legends in New York City in the 80s and early 90s in the Bronx and Harlem.
Yeah, that's for sure. She had Richie Adams and a lot of them other guys.
Yeah. Dudes, what up? What up?
Well, that's my man. Tell Judy I said, please forget. How could I forget to say my man, Gerald Thomas, the dancing dude, man? Tell him I said, please forgive me.
No doubt.
For real, for real.
Hope he, change his mind and bless us to come on the show one day, man.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? My guy, C. Militant said, right, D, he would hit you and the low dribble and then explode. And he said, explode on them with a dunk. Wow. So hold on. First of all, not only that you can jump extremely high, you had a handle to go with that as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
First of all, that's disgusting because most guys who can really, really jump, you know how it is.
Yeah.
The athletes, they don't really have the handle like that to get to that position. They usually catch an alley-oop or catch you on a fast break. But, man, you were just rocking guys to sleep, then catching them.
Yeah, no, I had a handle.
And waking them up, right? You rock them to sleep till you wake them up.
Oh, yeah.
Man, oh, man, oh, man. What were your summers like coming home from college? Like, where did you play? And how did that prepare you when you went back to school?
Basically, I played in King Towers, and I played in Mount Vernon, and then I played, I went to Philly and DC, and I played in that. But mostly it just was King Towers and Mount Vernon. I did some stuff when Bob McCullough had the Pro Rucker going on.
Yes.
He would gate these games with each one teach one, and I played in some of those. And and also up at Dykeman with Mr. Couch. I used to do a lot of working out with him because he was tied to Kennedy, to my high school. So I had a good relationship and did a lot of stuff up there with Mr. Couch as well. But I mean, coming home in the summer, that's like, I wasn't home that long because I used to go back to summer school and everything. So when I come home, I'm going to the games, putting it on, whether it was Freddie Myers, well, it's a game of that thing, man. So going to the games, driving, I had access. I had a car, but I had access. Everybody was like, I could have took any car I wanted from anybody. The one thing I didn't do was I had my own money. So by me having my own money, it put me in a different area. So opposed to me just playing for guys, them guys is my friends. So we go out, we hanging out a different kind of way from what a lot of the other guys was doing that was playing. They wasn't hanging out. It was a different thing. Then you got then you had certain money games, certain games.
All right, look, I was about to tap into that. Now, let me tell you. I had Brad on the show, and he's just blowing my mind, right? With the amount of money that was on these games. And he was just like 100,000, 300,000. And I had to stop. I wanted to stop the show and call him and be like, yo, fam, you ain't just lying to me. And guys in the chat, especially, my guy Eric Weaver's hit me up going, yo, Pool, trust me, it was going down. These are legendary things we heard in Brooklyn. But, we just thinking, man, that's exaggerated. We see dudes betting 30 or 40,000, nowhere 100 and 300,000 on the game.
Nah, it was games for 85,000, 100,000, 300. Me personally, I wasn't in the game for 300. That was bet straight up. Now it might have been 300.
Yes.
But it wasn't like the bet was 300, for the winner. It might have been this one put up 100, that put up 100, that put up 100. For me.
Got you.
But what Brad didn't do, I'm just saying for me. And we had my man Smokey, God bless him too. We used to, I could have a bet with Smokey. Smokey White pulled me and said, listen, guy just bet me you're not going to get 20. I said, what'd he bet you? He said, he bet me 10,000. I said, bet him 15, man. I run to the car and get my 5 and come back to him, hold it. That was like whenever. That's all the time. Or you ain't going to get 2 dunks. Bet him 20. I run and get my paper, bet them 20. Like it was all types. We was playing 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, 1-on-1s. It didn't matter. It just was flowing like that at that time. You know, we go to DC. You know, my man Red Jack and them. I go out there with them, other Jack, and we go play Rayful Edmonds team or something and play them for 85,000, 100,000. You know, that we fly down and have people drive the cars. So, because we staying. The rest of the team, they coming back, but we staying. You know, because it was a different time, man.
Man. What? Ron McKess want to know, was Gus and Ray Williams at Mount Vernon at the tournament when you was playing? Like, what they was these guys there?
When we was going up, yeah. The first time I went up there with a guy named Chick Jeweler. Not Chick All-Stars. That's too different. I went there with Chick Jeweler. Then after that, I went up there with Freddie Myers, with Milbank. So the 2 times he was coming up there, like Ray was on one team, Gus was on another team, Scooter and Rodney was on team. They was broken up. We was spanking them so much that they end up all getting on the same team. So you had Ray, Gus, Big Jim.
His phone probably died. I'm gonna wait for him to come back. He's back. Hold on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
You good.
Where you lost me at?
No. When they had to gang up to play you guys.
Okay, yeah. So when I was going up there with Freddie Myers with Milbank, that was Joe Hammond, Alonzo Jackson, Lil Joe Lip, myself, Raheem, another kid, Big Stick, Vern, and some of them are names that people don't know from the parks so much because they didn't play that much in the parks, but they was playing for real. And then when I went up there with Jack after that, because Freddie went away, once he went away, then Jack put a team up there, and that team was Gary Springer, Didi Power, Richie Adams, Steve Burke, Kevin Williams, Cheese Johnson, Nigel Wallace, I think. It was crazy. That was a crazy team too. It's crazy.
Man.
We go up there, and I mean, park is, packed beyond what they've ever seen before. You know, people hanging off of buildings, and it was just crazy. Matter of fact, when Jack went up there, Jack had the girls in bunny outfits and all that, man. So it was crazy.
Hold on, like the Playboy bunnies?
Yep, he had them in bunny outfits, man. Yep.
Yo, if anyone got the videos to these games, pictures, please hit up your boy. Man, this history is crazy, man. And you know, the great thing about these stories, especially, you know, us being from New York City, you're going to hear a variation of different stories and different ways how guys approach the game. It was all approached in a serious manner. Some guys did it for free. Some guys played for money. Some guys wanted the money. You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's just so amazing to me, man.
Yeah.
So
the other thing that ended up happening, and a lot of times, see, a lot of guys that was playing, they especially when you're talking about late 70s, early 80s, they wasn't really tied into certain guys who was moving around the street that way. They would play. So guys wasn't just tricking off money like that. So they turned it into something as time went on. Like my man Chick, God bless him, he passed away. But Chick came, and Chick early on, and he had a tournament that was strong for about 3 years.
That's Chick All-Stars, right?
Right.
Yes.
And he held that on 145th Street in Lenox. So Chick kind of was one of the earlier guys that started being like, okay, what you want to play, talking to other guys. For me, I always said, I don't want nothing. I got money, you know, because I wanted to keep my independence a certain type of way. I was trying to establish my own reputation a certain way that I'm strong in my own right. So I didn't want to like compromise myself like that. So I kind of didn't do it. Now, if we talking money games and all that, we talking something else, you know. But just in general, I wasn't running up on nobody. I wasn't doing that, you know, because that just was me.
You got Paul Scurry, part of the Scurry family. He said, we played them. They had the bunny suits.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And it's so crazy, right? Because I was actually supposed to have Carrie on tonight, right?
Okay.
But I know you guys are doing something with Brad up in Rucker this Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's an anti-gun violence day that I do for the Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation.
That's right. Tell everybody about your foundation and what you do, brother.
Okay,
for
well,
the community.
It's Kevin Shaw Jr. His father, his family was real close to me. We were like family. And Kevin Jr. passed away from gun violence. So his father created the foundation in his name. And then his father passed from a tragic accident, maybe like not even 2 years later. So, you know, based on the relationship, the family, it was, you know, trying to think of some things that I could do to be helpful. Now, I always had the anti-gun violence thing in the back of my head, you know, in that recent time. So Kimber Walker was close friends with Kevin Jr. So at the time, I was talking to Sakina Shaw, which is Kevin's mother. She's the president of the foundation. It was like Kimber and Kev was real close. Me and Kev Sr., that was my man. So me and Kimber could come together. Since I'm an old player, he's coming. He was right off an All-Star, you know, year. He was a free agent from New York, so it doesn't get any better than that.
That's right.
So she said, well, I'm going to talk to Kimber. I'll tell Kimber to call you. Because I had known Kimber since he'd been about 14, 15, you know, from whenever little Kev had him around him. So Kimber called me. We talked. So we put it together. He was my guest presenter. He had his man, Chris Faust. Chris Faust played at Rice as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Drexel, if I remember right. But so, you know, and then I had Hollis, my man Hollis off the foundation. And then we just started putting the event together. So, you know, we do 4 youth games, have speakers, guest speakers, presentations, but the message is about anti-gun violence. So even though it's games out there, the message is still about anti-gun violence. And then what the foundation does, you know, they give out 5 or more scholarships, 5 to 6 scholarships every year. They're not big scholarships, but as the foundation grows, then the scholarships can grow. So to date, they've given out, I know, over 32, 33 scholarships. You know, so they started doing this in 2017. So it ain't been that long, and they've been faithful and steadfast at you know, doing what they could do and getting their mission out there. So anytime, like right now, I've been talking to a lot of companies, a lot of my associates, but that sponsorship money and everything is still slow. It don't come in that way. So contributions and donations have been carrying, you know, the event. So we individually do things. So, you know, we always put it out there that there's a page, there's a GoFundMe page. You can contribute, you can donate. Because when these kids is playing, these events is happening, you know, you got to pay people. You know, the T-shirts, the plaques, the park setup, the MCs, the music, that's not free. You know, so you got to be able to cover, but at the same time doing something real good that you believe in and trying to be helpful to these kids, you know, and the youth, and let them know that it's not about that. Because everything that you following, what you think you emulating, you're not.
No, that's real. What's the name of the GoFundMe? Because I'm gonna flash it on the screen. What's the name of the GoFundMe?
It's under the Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation. It's hold on, let me get my little card. It's you know, the HTTPS, the dots, the 2 slashes, GoFund.me/434D353E.
434.
D is in David. 35. 3E as in Eddie.
3E. And before that, it's called the
Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation.
Shaw or Short?
Shaw. SHAW.
Yeah. Junior Foundation.
You can always look, the web is Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation.org. So anybody can look it up and see, you know, get the information and see, you know, the board and the members and what's their mission. And that's something, man, that I'm committed to. So for all my people, man, I need them to support it, man.
No doubt. So we're gonna flash that up there, and then I'm also going to post it on my page tomorrow. That small part for you promoting it on my page tomorrow on my Instagram, so people can come up, you know, and volunteer and get in any way they can, contribute, and I will be up there covering it as well.
Appreciate you, man.
No doubt. No doubt. Look, we all we got, man. This basketball community of ours is big, and whatever we can do to help each other, man, I'm all in.
And I thank you again, man. Appreciate you.
For sure. What was the game at VCU that sticks out to you the most? Like, that sticks out, said, you know what, I was in my bag and nothing nobody could do.
I mean, I had a few games against Western Kentucky, the games against Virginia, Ralph Sampson, Odie, Mark West.
Let's stop right there, Virginia, because this right there is the same state, played against Ralph Sampson, Hall of Fame. What did you do, and who won?
They beat both times. They beat. At that time, Virginia was ranked #1. You know.
They was crazy. Yes.
They beat us the first time, I think, by 4 points. The second time, about the same. We didn't beat them, but we always played them tough and was right there. And so, you know, my coach used to get mad at me because in practice, you know, we playing and say I get a rebound and put back. I get a rebound, put back. I'm dunking. I'm doing it. So he's getting mad, telling me, "You're not gonna be able to do that against Ralph. So don't do it." So I instinctively kept doing it. So he kept stopping practice. And I'm saying, "Listen, man, like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, you want me to not do it right now? Like, I don't get that." So, but those are games, you know, we had a lot of games, man. I mean, we had a lot of games that stood out, you know, that I remember. My games in the NCAA, you know, they stand out for me because you're on the next stage. You know, that's what you're playing all year for, to try to get to the tournament and win some games and possibly, you know, get to the championship or the Final Four, whatever. Anything I ever went in, always went in with the notion that we could win. Like, I never went into something saying, I'm just glad to be here, or, you know, I always went in with the notion that we could win. We could win.
Listen, you are a part of, when we talk about New York City ball players that are very, very good and legendary, you're a part of a small group that did it in college and did it on the street. Not too many that can say that.
Oh, yeah. But that's why when I tell people, I say, listen, there are stages and levels to the game. Now, we're not necessarily talking about talent or skill. I'm talking about stages and levels. So when you start talking about Tiny and Ross Strickland and then you go Mario Ellie, Ed Pickney, they got time in the league. They did things at the league. So then you go to that next stage when you're talking about Kevin Williams, Steve Burt, or Walter Berry, who had a few years in the league. Then you come into guys like myself, Artie Green, and Cheese Johnson, and all us, where we got drafted. We was there for whatever reasons. Some of us could have still played. Some maybe, you know, we all got different stories.
Right.
But you got different levels to this. And when you go to say, okay, what's the criteria to be considered this or that, you got to take all those things into consideration. And it ain't just about talent. Because you got to have discipline. In order to go to college and stay in college and do some things back at that time, you had to have discipline.
A lot of times people don't realize that. They just think, man, if I get on the stage, I can perform. I was like, man, if it's that easy, everybody will be able to do it.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I'm sorry, but I didn't say Sam Worthing. How could I not, like, how could I not say Sam? Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm sitting here, I'm going to be mad at myself when this is over, because it's going to be a bunch of people who I got all kinds of love for, and I didn't say something. It ain't that I don't hold them in high regard. It's just with everything happening, I can't, you know, the names is not coming across me like that. But how could I forget Sam? You know, Sam fits into that category, man. Like, you know, Sam's a great, man.
Yeah. One of my heroes lived right up the block for me. So definitely got to see it. Had a front row seat on that one, man. It's crazy. Everybody that comes in the show when they finish and then they watch it back, they be like, yo, they hit me back your pool. I gotta come back on because I forgot.
Yeah,
It's just crazy,
Because
right?
just imagine all the names that we done mentioned over this last hour or so. Just imagine, go back in time, in real time. Not we talking, let's go back in real time and imagine a game, whether it's in Rucker Park or King Towers or Mount Vernon, where you got Gary Springer, Steve Burke, Kevin Williams, myself, Walter Berry, Richie Adams, Nigel Wallace, whether it be like Pookie Wilson. I mean, just imagine that game, and you think people ain't hanging off the bridges and out the windows. That's exactly what it was. And I'm not even naming, when you forget you still got the other, whether you say Pearl Washington, Kenny Hutchinson, Kenny Patterson, Jerry Ice Reynolds. I mean, it's just you keep going.
Wow. And look, I always get guys telling me, yo, Pooh, you should take the show national. And I'm going, yo, fam, I'm good in my city. Like, and I still won't get to everybody. Right? We naming all these names. I had a lot of these guys on my show, and it's still, and I'm just getting to you.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
it's crazy.
It's a long list of guys, man, and they stories, you know, are what it is. You know, a lot of times I hear a lot of stories, and I know some people have ad-libbed, they've embellished, they've done some other things, so I let them live their stories. But anybody who was moving around the late 70s to the middle of the 80s, it's a certain group of guys, especially when you talk about this tournament or these money games. It wasn't broad. It was only certain people that was in them and around it, you know, and moving forward. Like I came when I got waived and I went to Wyoming to sit back. I had already had my arrangement that trade was happening, and then I'm coming back. So I just didn't wait the length of time that they said, because it went further than what they said. So I was like, wait a minute, here we go again. You know, right. I went to this in high school. I went to this in junior college, in college. Now here we go again. And I was impatient and being young, I just walked away. And then when I walked away is when I went over to China with Earl and Pete and them. So now, based on what I did over there, when I come back, you know, Phoenix still got my rights because free agency was different back then. You know, you got draft rights and how you fall into the free agency and everything. So, I mean, I had several teams that I could have went to, but the contract, the numbers wasn't right. So, you know, and not to get into the stories of trying to flex and say, man, I got money, I'm this, I'm that. So it wasn't that. It was just that I wasn't gonna let them do that to me. And at the time I was hurt. I wasn't angry. If I was angry, I would have went at him. I was just more hurt, and I slid back. So now, once I come back, I'm contemplating what I want to do, you know. So any of the fights, I'm at the fights, I'm at whatever's happening, I'm there, and I'm in the first 5 rows, sitting there with my man Kite, George Biggs, and Kev Shaw later on. But anywhere, I'm there. So anything that's happening, I'm doing it. I'm a part of it. So the whole ambiance of being in the NBA and all that, it wasn't, you know, I could go to any NBA arenas at that time, and I could walk on the floor, I could go in the back. So, you know, it didn't bother me from a perspective of success. It got to me later on from the standpoint when I started looking at my peers and saying, okay, he played 10 years, he played 14 years. Here it is, I'm in and out. So, and I did it to myself, so I got to live with the consequences of that. That's where where I get into some thoughts sometimes, because I know, like always, if I'd have just would have kept at it, and me and John McLeod was all right with me, and the conversations and what he did, after it all came out, he was telling me the truth. But at the time, you know, to me, the truth was, you tell me a time, I expect it to happen in that time, not 7 weeks later and all of that, you know. So you live with your decisions, you live with your choices.
Yeah, once the smoke clears, right, and you get, you know, they always say hindsight is 20/20, right?
Right.
You know, once the fact is gone, you sit back, you go, what if, and what could have been, but you know, you turned out all right because in actuality, you still was a professional, and you still a professional to this day in what you do.
Yeah. Like I tell a lot of people who really don't know, I said, just think about, I'm moving around with Phil Jackson and all them other guys. Do you not think if I didn't want to go to here, to there, that I couldn't pick up the phone and have my people pick up the phone and call them to say, listen, he want to come back. He want to play. Give him a shot. That's easy. Because them guys was with me. They was at that particular time, you know, my people. So they knew what I could do and what I couldn't do. So it was just a choice. You know, it was a choice.
John Easley said, tell Fred, Easley said, what's good? I went to JFK with Fred. Back then at JFK, you couldn't get double period gym unless you could ball. Fred's senior year in school, his handle and his jumper was bananas. Dorian said he won player of the game on TV multiple times. Most definitely. Who's that? D-Mac. D-Mac's in the building. What up, D-Mac?
Oh, man, that's my man, D, from when D was about 13, 14, and he used to be playing on the don't stop signs. I come in 46th Street with my man Brock, with the grocery store, Tony Stewart out of Esplanade, Lil L.A., God bless his soul. He used to come in the block with, oh, man, D-Mac, my man, Australia.
Yeah, I used to listen to, you know, I had him on a show and listen to his story. I was just like, you know, it's so incredible you still made it to the league. It was in Australia, but still, you made it to the league after, you know, all the obstacles you had to go through. That's the thing that amazed me, man, the perseverance.
Tell, matter of fact, I got to send my apologies to D-Mac as well, because even though he was behind me, he still was worried of me mentioning his name because he was for real.
Yeah.
He was for real. And all the guys later, like it'll be another time. I'm not getting into the mid-90s, like, because look, Kareem Reed, A. Butter, Main Ingredient, all those, I got much love and respect for all them dudes. But we talking about the old guys right now, man.
Hey, listen, that's right, man. We gonna leave that right there because we giving you your flowers, man. And what I love too, man, Fred, you ain't afraid to give it up, right? You didn't sit here and just chop it up about yourself. You mentioned more players than anybody that came on here. You mentioned so many players and feeling bad that you not mentioning more. That shows the kind of honorable guy you are, man. Definitely appreciate that.
Because they all made the time. Like New York City basketball at that period of time can't be what it is without all those guys. It just can't be, because you have so much talent, so many guys, and guys like even I said, you know, that term street ball. I used to didn't like that term. I used to say because the guys that brought that term to light was guys who were playing in college and was hell of some players in college, and some of them turned pro, became pros. So to say that they was a street ball player takes away from, I thought and felt at the time, of what they really accomplished in the game. So you look at a guy like, and I'll use a Steve Burke or Kevin Williams, who was a great college player. He was a great high school player. He played in the NBA floor, played overseas. You can't call him a street ball player. You see what I'm saying? Like he accomplished a certain level or something. So you got to give him what he accomplished. So he was just a guy who came back and gave back to playing in the tournaments and in the parks a certain way. But he's a real ball player. Same with Kevin Williams. Same with Ed Pickney. You know, Mike Moses, Rory Grimes, and them guys, man. You know, guys come back and give, man. Gary Springer, Tony Campbell. Tony Campbell's a Jersey guy, but he spent a lot of time on the New York side. That's my man too. You know, and they forget Wes Matthews Sr., Jeff Houston, Hollis Copeland. Man, yo.
Man, you naming them names, man. What would these tournaments be if those guys didn't come back and play? Think about it.
They wouldn't have been. See, like even now, like Rucker Park, people confused and don't understand it was two entities out there, where you had the Pro Rucker, which the Pro Rucker ended around 89. Then you had the EBC, which came to Rucker Park in 87. So for 3 years, they existed at the same time. EBC Monday through Thursday, Pro Rucker Friday through Sunday. So the EBC was at that time, they was maintaining huge crowds no matter what. The Pro Rucker was only having huge crowds if certain guys were playing. So, but you only got a handful of guys that played in EBC and the Pro Rucker at a certain level. Like, again, you know, I go back to these same names because of the time period. Artie Green, Cornbread, Troy Truesdale, Kevin Williams, myself. All of us was right at that period where we still was mainly relevant. So when we came to the EBC, we already was who we was. We already had our names. Right. So we was bringing credibility to the EBC. Now, Pro Rucker, we came out of college with names and we established ourselves on the pro level in Pro Rucker. So it's only a certain amount of us that can say that for both tournaments at the same time. You know, and then I spent a lot of time out there because I had teams. I was involved. You know, Greg Maris was my man. I helped him with a lot of things. Gusto was a good dude, my man. You know, Bob McCullough, too, treats me well, you know, my guy. So it ain't many people that's walking around now that can say they've been out there a certain type of way like I have.
Real talk. Speaking of McCulloughs, we have a Jerry Ice McCullough on Friday. We had him on already. It's a pre-tape show that I have in my stash. I have like another 100 shows nobody ever saw because I started on YouTube. I mean, I started on Instagram, right?
Okay.
Started Instagram, then I kind of made my way over to YouTube. Made life so much easier. But at the time when I was starting out, it was on Instagram and just to get the things rolling. And I could do like 3 shows a week. So I was killing them, man. In like 3 years, I've done over 400, man, going on 450 shows right now.
I take my hat off to you, man, because that's a lot of work, a lot of energy, and a lot of input, you know, and even having the mindset to even want to dive into all these things. You being a former player yourself. So you got to have your own feelings as to what happened to you during your time and where you thought or felt you should be. And then now to be talking about others and listen to others' story. But you might need time to get your story there, man, and let that be a show, man.
Oh, listen, actually, it's a documentary coming out soon.
Okay.
It's a documentary coming out soon because, you know, I walked away from the game, I think like 27, 28 years old. Like I just stopped playing. And I only played in West Fork because my guy, one of my older guys, Earl Robinson, wanted me to play with them in West Fork.
Okay.
But that, you know, that story is going to be told and how it brought me back, right? Because the Most High will bring you back to the place where you running from.
Right. That's true.
You get what I'm saying? So my guys used to always kind of push me to this way, like, yo, Pooh, you should do a basketball show. And I was like, I don't want to talk about basketball. You know, still running from it.
Right.
And look what I'm doing right now. And from the very first show, man, I just been loving it, man. And you guys make it so good for me, right? To want to keep doing it because every show I'm hyped. And with you, and I'm gonna say you in particular, you know, the Cornbreads, and I can name a whole bunch of other people, but you know, there's certain people that I just know, just like, wow, I don't believe this is happening.
Yeah, well,
because I heard about you, never saw you play. I'm from Brooklyn, you from uptown. You hear the names, you know the names.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, again, I appreciate you, man, because when you look at all the guys, a lot of the guys don't get their story out. You know, they don't have the opportunity to tell their story. So it's always a pleasure and an honor for somebody to, you know, give them that platform. You know, I've been fortunate, man. You know, I did a lot of things. You know, even at the end of it, me not playing and putting teams in tournaments and sponsoring, I was probably 31, 32, man, and still could have went overseas. I had like 10 teams I could have went to, you know, but that's part of my story that I never talk about. People don't know, you know, you just leave it there, you know, and I didn't do it because I wanted the longer term and I couldn't get what I wanted. So, you know, I didn't want to have to go do that. And I had my children was 3 and 1 then, you know, the language barrier and all those things. So, you know, I decided that, okay, that's it. And it was crazy because my man, Mel Davis kept saying, how you don't want none of that money, man? You think, man, go get some of that money, man.
You talking about Mel Davis from Brevoort?
Yeah, well, I know Mel Davis went to Boys and Girls High.
Yeah. I'm from Brevoort as well. He was our first pro, And our Coliseum is similar to Kingdom.
Okay. Right.
That's
right.
I run my tournament out of. So yeah. Mel was on the show. Great guy. Got to talk to him. Heard about him. Heard about his legend, right? And when you get a chance to meet him in person, and I'm gonna get to meet you again officially. I think I shook your hand the first year, but we didn't really talk.
Right.
But definitely gonna catch up with you on Saturday.
Oh, for sure. Now, man,
for sure. So
good relationship, man.
That's right. The brotherhood runs thick.
That's right.
Listen, not only you played with arguably the greatest players in New York City history, but you played with arguably the greatest players in NBA history.
Oh, yeah.
How was that?
I mean, for me, that was like, it was crazy because I remember when it first started happening, and Earl came to me and he asked me, he said some things, and I was like, I was shocked that he really knew about me and knew my background. So I had to go down to, if I remember, I had to go to a private workout, and initially it's supposed to have been for 3 days. After that first day, he was like, listen, okay, who's your agent, man? And blah, 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 so forth and so on. And then the rest is history, man. And it was like, I'm over there, and Earl, because Earl, I would go to the Garden to games. So I would see him and Frazier. So I would kind of, when I was a kid, younger, try to pattern my game after them and all that. So to be able to be sitting there on right there with them, it was like I can't describe it, man. It was just an honor and a privilege to me. And you talking about this dude like Pete Maravich, the stuff he was doing, they can't do that still to this day. And I was doing clinics with him over there, so I know exactly what he could do when it comes to that holding that basketball. And not many guys walking around could do the things he could do, And just my talks with Bobby Dandridge, Phil Jackson. He's not the Phil Jackson. He wasn't the Phil Jackson you see now, but he was always real physiological and talking from a psychological aspect, and he was like that. So I mean, I got pictures and stuff on the Great Wall, man, with them. And the Forbidden City, man, in China. I mean, it's crazy. We out there doing Chinese soap operas and commercials, pictures on the side of buildings and everything. I could have stayed out there. They wanted, but at that time, China wasn't what you see today either. So, but I was moving around on. Remember the president of the Philippines, Marcos?
Yes. Man,
they was coming and getting us. Man, we on the yacht, going out, all that. Man, it was just, for me. It was one of my like greatest sports moments because of the individuals that was involved and the love that they showed me. And I knew, like, at that time, I was in a different area because I'm young. I'm supposed to be in a different area. So without trying to act, and get into all that other stuff, I was just happy to be a part of them, and it was great.
Your life has been the red carpet treatment all the way through, brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying myself, man.
I mean,
dudes would kill and give up everything for the fact that you had a front row seat with those guys to be able to play with those guys.
Yeah. That was special, man. Like, it's crazy because if I would have went on and played and been the same player that I've always been, then you would hear them talk about that. But because my career stopped, you don't hear about it, and it got pushed aside. Them guys not gonna talk about it because it wasn't nothing special for them because of who they are and what they became. But for me, just who they are and the relationship that we had at that time, that's unforgettable for me.
For sure, man. Ron McCants, I appreciate you, man. Love you guys too, man. Love you, brother. Appreciate the love. E. Weaver, man, always love you, man. Appreciate you, brother. Listen, we got one of your guys on the show. He's on the check-in, friend of the show, part of the brotherhood. Ernie Myers on the check-in.
Ah, my man. Don't forgive me, too. Ernie was a little behind me, but he deserved to be mentioned, too. Tell him, don't hold it against me, Ernie. Ernie knew some of my Derek Wittenberg stories in California and everything. Wittenberg was like, man, what is this New York dude doing? Like, I had New York dudes coming to meet me in L.A. and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. You're not just gonna skip past that. What was up with that Dirk Whitberg story?
Well, we was in camp together. You know, he was when we got drafted, Rod Foster was the first pick. Then Paul Williams was their second pick. That was
Okay.
Byron Scott's backcourt at Arizona.
Yes.
Derek Whitberg was the third pick, and he had just won the championship, you know, at North Carolina State. So the crazy thing is, in camp, we battling for the same spot, but we end up, he throwing me alley-oops, man. We having the ball. So he becomes my roommate. So now after they go through the first few cuts and all that, and then they say, okay, now we go into the summer league. So that's my roommate. Man, I got certain people came to California and said, man, listen, you out, if you get there, we coming to see you. So now people coming to see me out in LA, they coming in the back of the locker room. People coming throwing me the keys to the SLs and all that. So he was like, this boy crazy, man. What's going on? So yeah, man.
Doing how we do it in New York, man.
Yeah, but I always had a lot of respect for him as well, because back then, you know, you going for them spots it's cutthroat.
Fact.
And he always was good with me, always was respectful, and we never, you know, we always just got along, man. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I always got much love for him.
No doubt. My guy Tom Rivero said, tell Frank Unc Stuart Barnett said thanks for the shout out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, everybody passing on those words, man. Terry Diggs, as usual, Greg Show. Appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, he's in the building. Stu Barnett is here. He said, I'm in. What up, Stu? My God.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's dope, man. That's dope. So, you know, you go on to have a great time over in Southeast Asia, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kill at the Rucker. You make your name there. Any games at the Rucker that sticks out to you? I know you had plenty.
Yeah, man. I mean,
like, okay, let's say this. Who did you shake and dunk on that everybody know? And it's not like, you know, I don't throw anybody under the bus, but it is what it is. It's part of New York City history.
I put it like this. At that time, I'm getting to dunk every game. I'm getting more than one dunk a game. So I ain't gonna put it on nobody's head. The people that saw it, they know who got it, and the people who got
TNT got it. Whoever that is.
So they know. But I mean, I just say, man, we had a lot of games out there, man. Some of the games, like on the pro Rucker side, I remember the games with Wes Matthews Sr., Ray Williams, Michael Ray Richardson, a few that Rick Mahorn played in. Kevin Williams was in a lot of those.
Hold on. Time out. Rick Mahorn played at the Rucker?
Yeah, he played a couple times. He didn't play a lot, but he did a game.
Nah, he's not from New York, but to come down to play and show the city some love, you got to respect that.
Yeah. Then we had a game in Columbia University one time where it was Rick Mahorn, Alex English, Kiki Vandeweghe, if I remember, I think John Williamson. I can't remember, you know, who else. And then it was myself. I think Rodney McCray was in that game. I think Kevin Williams was in that game. And I can't remember, but it was one of them crazy games. Jam-packed, ain't no room, ain't no standing room, you know. Crazy.
So listen, John Easley said, people don't know, but Fred is the most humble dude. And this is the most I've heard Fred chop it up. And I've known him since 1976. Fred never took ball. He just left it on the court. That's class act right there. Look at that. Appreciate you, John. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Are you familiar with the NIL?
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's okay. You know, for if you're able to get some financial gain like that, because most of the time, the way it was in college, even though we all know certain schools and was able to take care of their players a certain type of way, but when you look at the bigger schools, the type of money they're bringing. People don't realize the NCAA was bringing in more money than NBA for many years.
Facts. And a nonprofit organization.
Right. And so to be able to sell, like, for example, I'll go back. If you just talk about a Ralph Sampson or Michael Jordan, James Worthy, and Akeem Olajuwon and guys, they're selling their jerseys, I mean, ridiculously, selling them out. And this kid at the time could get not one penny off of that. I think that's unfair. So for them to be able now to be able to get something out of it, I'm happy for them. It has to be regulated naturally. You have to have a system that kind of balances it out. So I know there are flaws to the system, but I'm okay with it.
I'm like, don't fix it. Keep letting these kids get paid. Let me look, bro.
Because most of them they're not gonna play at the next level.
I was dead ass broke in college.
Yeah.
I was just out of town. I was in North Carolina, visiting my old college buddies and teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And we was talking about how broke we was. You know, we talked about it was about 40 of us, and between 40 of us, we had like about $80. You get what I'm saying?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
and about maybe 6 or 7 of us were athletes.
Right.
And
right.
you know, being a Division I athlete, you can't work.
Yeah.
So you know, let these guys just keep getting that money, and don't regulate it, man. Just keep it flowing.
What was happening before was a trick bag, because they knew every school had to violate the regulations to be able to get, you know, the players and maintain it. So they choose when they want to go after a coach or a school, because they know almost 70% of the schools are violating that, if not more. Because if you just took a kid to lunch, that's a violation back then.
Facts.
If a kid went home and he had to get back and had no money to get back, and the school brought him back, that's a violation. Like, they never paid attention to all those things. You got a kid who comes from a family without no financial means, and he goes home the 2 days he might get for Christmas or whatever it is, for the school to not be legally okay to bring that kid and fly the kid back, I thought was a disservice. And they knew that wasn't real, but they left it like that to give them the option when they want to feel like they wanted to go after certain schools and certain coaches. You know, but they knew exactly that. My school, we had what they call foster parents. And you would go talk to your foster parent and they would be helpful to you. You know, and I'm sure all other schools had mechanisms put in place, you know, a certain type of way. So
facts.
You know,
even at Philly Dickinson, we was getting some change.
Yeah.
And they you know, they would tell, we can't give it to you now, but during the road trips, we will make it up to you. And I was shocked, because I hear, you know, I interview guys that played in the Big East and bigger conferences that asked them how much money they was getting on the road. And I was like, damn, we was getting paid more than y'all. It just depends. Depending. Because some big schools, some guys like, Pooh, I can't tell you how much, but off the phone, they'd be like, yo, G, this is how much you was getting paid.
Yeah.
So it just all depends, right?
Yeah, it depends on the school, the alumni, how they put certain things together. Certain schools felt that the perks you got for being there was an advantage. You know, when you're talking like North Carolina and all school like that, just the notoriety and everything that comes with it, it has a value. Now, you know, they players was taken care of a certain way, but you'll never know the mechanisms of it unless one of them share it with you.
Facts.
Yeah.
Hey, Todd, this is a great question, because this is something I wanted to ask you too. What? Players get hurt more now than in our era?
Because now they're not giving their bodies a chance to rest. So when you train in that type of rigorous fashion, and you're talking about no body fat almost, you're gonna eventually, your body's gonna break down because you're not letting it recuperate. You know, so technology is much greater, you know, medicine. So you can come back from injuries that we could have never came back from, but they having more injuries because the body is not resting, in my opinion.
Okay, Monica Brown said, hello, Fred Brown Jr. Disco, Downtown Freddie Brown, as the world knows him. But I know him. I know this legend as the world's greatest dad. I love you. And it's an honor to call you my father. Wow. That's awesome.
My oldest daughter.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Monica. We appreciate you. No doubt. So, when we talk about mentors, right? We want to give those guys who kind of helped us out along the way. Who are some of the guys that helped you out along the way, since you helped so many?
Well, I'll say outside of my father, I'll say Reverend Burkett, who was the coach of Trio Crusaders. He was the man responsible for me going to college. I would say Joe Holly, who was the coach of the Pacers, and King Towers, when I really came, where people really got to know and started knowing who I was, and that came under him. And then Jim Couch with Dykeman, because Dykeman was always connected to Kennedy. So when I wasn't playing with Trio, I played with Dykeman. So with him and my man Vanda, another guy, Vanda used to be there with Mr. Couch back in the day. So those guys kind of on the basketball side and just talking in general. Now outside that, I had like, I don't know what it was, just a lot of the older guys, you know. I remember a guy named John Adams. He used to talk to me a lot. He was older than me before me. I think he went to the Knicks one time, but John was a heck of a player. They would just check on me, and they would just say, because they used to see me with so many different guys that they revered and put in a certain space. That they always just say, "Yo, you know who you're around? Are you okay? You sure you know what you're doing? You okay?" And I'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for checking on me. I'm good," like that. So I appreciated all the guys that kind of did that. It was another guy named Reggie Springer, and Reggie Springer was probably the first guy I ever saw with the Rover, not a Range Rover, Rover the car. And
I never heard of that.
Yeah, Rover the car. Yeah. So Reggie was about his business as well, and he used to always sometimes pull me to the side, talk to me. A good dude. And then I mean, Freddie Mize, all of them, like, you know, Jerome Harris and Batten, a lot of guys used to. My conversations was positive. Like, we wasn't on the in the gutter sidewalk type of conversations. We would talk about the general things in life. You know, it was a different thing. So, you know, my relationship was different from what I heard some of the other guys, you know, saying. You know, I had a real brotherhood with a lot of them. You know, we travel together, we do things together, you know, hang out a certain way, you know, and I kind of picked up, you know, between my father and some of them, I picked up, you know, a lot of those habits and traits, you know. That's why, I mean, I started putting the teams in the tournaments early, even though I was still playing, it was my team. You know, I was doing a lot of those things way before, you know, a lot of others, you know. So I just appreciate everybody that, you know, always showed me love and looked out for me, because for sure, Harlem and the Bronx showed me a lot of love.
That's real, man. I had a conversation with Coach Couch last month at the mayor's office. They invited, you know, all the well, most of us was there. We can't say all, because, you know, it was some guys that weren't there, but the guys who ran tournaments in New York City, all the top guys who ran tournaments in New York City. And, you know, I know my tournament's been around since the 70s, but it was a long gap that it wasn't around, and I was able to bring it back and to be at the table with some of the guys who've been doing it for such a long time, and then have Mr. Couch there and talk to him. And man, you know, he's 90 years old.
Oh yeah, I know Mr. Couch since 1975.
But I
and he's still at it. He's still at it.
If you ask me, I'd be like, yeah, he's about 72.
Nah.
You know,
yeah,
90. I said, yo.
Yeah, he looks good.
I said, Coach, and I'm gonna get him on in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yes, he gave me his number. He said he's willing to come on the show. And I just want to make sure that we give Coach Couch his flowers. And I'm glad you brought him up, man. I'm glad he was a part of your life too.
Oh yeah, positive part. Man. Always, again, you know, just a good guy. You know, just a good guy. Always treated me good. You know, respectfully and everything. He laugh and joke and make his little jokes sometimes, but always Always love.
Now, the last transition that we all go through, right, is that transition from the basketball world to the real world. And a lot of times it's hard for us basketball players making that transition because we go into the world with no experience and we have to start over, right? How was your transition into the real world after basketball?
But I mean, I was in the real world doing basketball, so my transition was already happening. I mean, my last year of college was due to my father. I already had a company, had a business, so you know we was getting into the real estate development and all of that. So I was already being exposed to a lot of those things while I was in college and everything. So while I was still doing those other things, I was doing that as well. So by 1985, I mean, I was part ownership of several housing developments and storefronts and things of that nature. And from that, you know, I had a security guard business that just fell into place because if you build in buildings, you got to put security on them. So, you know, it just happened. And then from my father, just being exposed, you know, to other people and other things and the stuff that he was involved with, it just brought me along the way. So, you know, all the people that I met throughout sports, basketball, and moving around became a plus for him. And then the people that he knew politically and community-wise became a plus for me. So it kind of matched. So by the time, I mean, that was part of my decisions when I did some of the things I did. Like it wasn't like I didn't have nothing to fall back to, wasn't doing nothing. You know, I'm moving around and you never counting somebody else's money, but I know I was in better shape than a lot of dudes playing in the NBA in the early years. You know, so
that's real.
It you know, and it worked out. I mean, we were the first in a lot of areas, so we took a lot of hits. You know, I still take hits now, but you know, I wouldn't change nothing. You
no
know,
doubt.
I wouldn't change nothing. Always. I was taught to always believe in economic capital. You know, you got to own your own. When you own your own, whatever money you derive from that, you can do whatever you want. So yeah, we need social programs, but you need economic capital, economic development as well. Because if you got your own, you ain't got to worry about a program.
That's powerful.
You know,
Fred is a good person. I'm glad to call him my friend. This is Nate, your boy.
My man.
No doubt. They tapping in, man. They tapping in, man. They tapping in, brother. They tapping in. You know, my last question, you already answered it. Because you said you wouldn't change anything. Because my last question would be, if you could change one thing about your basketball journey, what would it be? That's the question. Yes.
The only thing I would do is that day when I was in Wyoming and I just left, I would address the coach of the team, because I was in the CBA. I would have addressed them. You know, I would have told them, and like a man, you face up. I just left. So that was one of my issues, because when I got back home, I had telegrams from John McLeod, the coach of the Suns, because they questioned my character. They say, this guy just up and left. Like, what type of guy is he? What type of person is he? So I would have did that different, because that has nothing to do with the other stuff. That's just as a man going and you're facing up and telling somebody, this is not going to work. So, you know, I'm going to take a different path. So I would have did that. And I think with that sometimes may change the directions. But I always believe everybody has different paths, but they have the one place they're going to always get to. So no matter what we do, what path we take, the end result is going to be that thing that God had us to be. You know, I just always believe that. So,
me too. You see what I'm doing now, right?
Yeah.
I try to go the other way. I try to go away. God brought me right back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. Appreciate you, Khalid. Thank you. Martin B., thank you. Appreciate you. Always. So, now we're about to get into another part of the show, and that is our top five. All right. Top five guys you played with.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is the part of the show you get in trouble because with all the names you name,
that's impossible. I gotta say, no, I'm gonna say, man, that's so hard, man.
Yeah. Yo, hold on. Time out.
I'm gonna go. Listen,
hold on. Before you even start, when you was running off those names, I made a mental note to myself. I said, "Yo, the last part of the show gonna be hard for him.
Yeah,
you can't name a 6-man. You can't go at my man because my man, you only can name 5.
I'm gonna go with my man Mike Daniels, right? And a lot of people don't know Mike Daniels, but Mike played at Rice, and he ended up going to Texas A&I. But Mike was a beast, man. Anybody played? Mike was playing when the Whitney was the big thing. Mike was playing juniors and seniors and giving the seniors the business. He just ended up just at a school, Texas A&I, where everything he did, if he'd have been at a bigger school, then he's seen and he's recognized differently. So I'm gonna say Mike, my King Tower buddy, my Trio Crusaders dude, he's one. I'm gonna go Asia, Earl Monroe, Pete Mavericks, man.
That's 3 now.
I know.
Damn, he said Pete Mavericks, Earl Monroe. That's
dang. I'm gonna go. And this one might sound crazy to people, but I'm gonna go Rodney McCray, Trio Crusader dude again, and then I got 2 guys, man. I got 2 college teammates, man. I can't. I got to say, and I know you said I can't have a 6-man, so I guess I gotta be punished. But I'm gonna say Calvin Duncan at VCU and Randy Corker was my man, VCU.
Who we taking off the list?
I ain't gonna take nobody list. You're gonna have to do it. I'm not. And that's crazy, man. Cause oh my gosh. Now, mind you, that's just what came to my mind. Cause I done been. I mean, Joe Hammond was older then, but I done played with Joe Hammond, Super Kid, Lonzo Jackson, man. Right? Gus Williams, Ray Williams, man. That's impossible, man.
Yo. Who we taking off that? I'm asking all my people in the chat. He only could choose 5. Who we taking off the list? Who we taking off the list? You got Pete Maravich, Earl Monroe. You got who's the first guy you named?
I said Mike Daniels.
Mike Daniels, and then your 2 teammates. 3? No, you said
no. I said Rodney McCray.
Rodney McCray.
And then I said
who they said Rodney said Rodney McCray was a great player, killer. Yeah, I see Rodney McCray play. Yes. All right. We gonna leave it as is because people kind of slow.
Let me tell you now.
I'm gonna take up one of your teammates.
I don't know people. Calvin Duncan played me at VCU, right? He was drafted by Cleveland and then traded to Chicago. Calvin turned it down because he was born again. Wow. And went to play with Athletes in Action, man.
Wow.
And this is a kid. He was an Oak Hill. He was a Oak Hill Academy All-American and everything. I mean, a love guy. He's a pastor in Richmond, Virginia.
Now. We keeping him. We keeping him on the team.
My man Randy Corker. That was my dude, boy.
All right, we gonna make this one a little bit harder. Top 5 guys you played against.
Wow. I'm gonna put Ralph Sampson in there. Moses Malone. Alex English. Walter Davis. And Gus Williams.
Damn. Somebody just said, keep Gus Williams. No doubt, no doubt. All right, brother. Last one. Top 5 players in New York City history. From your perspective.
I'm going to have to go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Nate Archibald, Bob Cousy, Rod Strickland. I'm trying to see I'm trying to make sure I got everybody that I know was in New York. Oh, Lenny Wilkins.
No doubt, no doubt. I'm like, dang, he ain't picked nobody from Brooklyn. Nah, it's all good, so good. And you the first guy. I think maybe somebody else did it to pick Bob Cousy, which is dope. Could we forget about him? Right?
Yeah.
Definitely. New York strong right there, man.
I'm going on accomplishments, longevity, basically, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think Rod Strickland gets overlooked.
Man.
I think Rod was a hell of a I think half of Rod's career was at an all-star level, if not longer. And the politics again of the league and how they were picking all-stars at that time hurt him. But I think he really he was a punisher, man. And I think they don't recognize him enough.
Yo, Rod Strickland wasn't even McDonald's All-American either.
Yeah.
And he bust all those guys' ass. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Politics as usual, man. Salute to
17
Rod.
years, man. He played 17 years.
That's right. My brother, Rod Strickland.
You know, and that ain't easy to do.
Not at all. Not at all. Man, and I had the pleasure of playing with him my senior year in the Empire State Games when them guys was at DePaul, man. So,
okay.
Man, that definitely deserve everything that's coming to him. And let's get down and support him this year at LIU so those guys can make it to the NCAA.
That's right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
right. I seen a couple of their games last year, and I know he got his 2 sons playing.
They this year they're looking good.
So they should be all right.
Yeah.
Sure. And then too, man, I got to always send some love to Mario Ellie.
Fact.
And Jamal Mashburn too, man. I'm like,
Mashburn, we need you to come on the show.
Oh.
Have my guy Mario. Salute my brother Mario Ellie. Anybody can reach out to Mashburn, let him know. Come on and rep New York City like he should. And he's doing a great job. We so proud of him, man. Proud of all of our guys, man. But tonight was your night, brother. I want to say again, man, it was an honor to even have your number, be able to call you, and then sit down and have a great conversation with you, and you tell me some of your story. Because I know there's another book that's extended to that story that goes along with that, man. But I feel honored that you gave me the pleasure to sit down and talk to you, man. I'm definitely going to kick with you Saturday. And I want to say, man, thank you for all the great memories you gave us in New York City. Thank you for all the people you helped. Thank you for being a gentleman. Thank you for being a class act. And thank you for being someone that guys can follow. And hopefully, man, if we can fit in half of your shoes, man, we'll be good, man. So I just want to say thank you, brother, and let you know you are definitely one of the greatest players in New York City history.
Man, thank you for that. And I'm humbled and I'm appreciative to have been here. And it's just thank you, man. And everybody come out, man, support the Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation and Anti-Gun Violence Day. We all got somebody, friend or family, has been affected by this gun violence. And we need to talk to this youth, man, and try to get them to put these guns down as a better way. So everybody that has supported the foundation, I want to say thank you. And anybody who's on that line trying to figure it out, support it, come out and see, man. It's a positive day and it's good people, man. Again, Kevin Shaw Jr. Foundation, man.
That's right. You see at the bottom, www.kevinshawjr.org. Go there and support. Please, we need your support. And come out on Saturday. I'll see you guys there. All right? I'm going to do my outro, brother. You can stick around, you know, and then we're about to be out of here. And
You know what this hit me too?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, man.
No, anytime. Go ahead.
How could I leave out Bernard King, man? And Albert. Albert had his moment, but how could I leave out? Yeah, so many days in the garden, man, with the BK. How could I leave out the great Bernard? There's another book to do, man. How could I do it? Oh, they gotta forgive me, man.
Yo, and when you sit back and go, damn, I forgot him too.
Yeah, I was just that quick. I was sitting here and something flashed, and I said, Bernard King. How could I forgot Bernard King and Albert? Albert had a moment, man. Albert had some time.
Yeah, you know? I met Bernard King once when I was a kid at a camp, and then I finally met Albert this year. Sam bought him and Dwayne Johnson came to my all-city game I had for Tom Kachowski, man. So
DJ Dwayne too, man. Shout out to him, Marquette.
No doubt.
Dwayne. Yeah.
No doubt.
Good dude too. Put it in. Yeah.
No doubt, brother. Hey, listen, I'll be talking to you soon, and I'll definitely see you on Saturday.
All right. Appreciate you and thank you, man. Much love.
Salute. Always. Man. Listen, man. You know, some people feel crazy when they meet somebody that they've been hearing about most of their childhood. Me, I feel honored. I feel honored to sit down and talk with some of our greats to extend that brotherhood and to be a part of it. Our guest tonight, Fred Disco Brown, Downtown Freddie Brown, whatever you want to call him, make sure you put some respect in his name because he did it his way. He was a man of honor, class, and a dude that would straight bust your ass. So you understand that tonight we're dealing with New York City royalty. Never forget those who came before you. Never look down at those who probably doing a little bit something different than you. If they give you some good advice and they treating you like a man and they stand up dudes, give them that respect. Make sure their names stay good in these streets. Because for my next guest, you already know what he's about. And everybody that knows him who came on here, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support you gave Fred because it's deserved. Well deserved. I'm about to get out of here. I am your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And you've been watching Basketball Heads Live, the podcast on NYC Basketball Network. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the show. It costs you nothing. Send it to your friends. Share this video. Share it to everyone. Tell them, subscribe to the #1 basketball show in New York City. Y'all know our slogan. We are the official home for New York City basketball. Peace.